Marcus shrugged and said he just listened, and when Dr. Carter invited him to the hospital, administrators objected, donors raised eyebrows, but Emily insisted, and sessions began in secret at first, then openly, and progress came not in leaps but in whispers, a toe twitch, muscle engagement, reflexes returning like shy guests, and the media caught wind of it. Headlines twisted the truth, calling Marcus a miracle worker, a fraud, a symbol, and pressure mounted. Scientists demanded explanations. Marcus couldn't give in their language, and when a rival neurologist accused Dr. Carter of exploiting a homeless boy and giving false hope, funding was threatened and careers hung in the balance, and Emily, caught in the middle, told her father she would stop if he tried to turn Marcus into an experiment, because what helped her most wasn't just the physical therapy, it was being treated as a whole person. And then came the setback, a sudden regression after a viral infection, days when Emily couldn't feel anything at all, and Dr. Carter spiraled, blaming Marcus, blaming himself, until Marcus disappeared, gone from the streets, gone from the hospital, leaving only silence. And weeks passed, and Emily sank into depression deeper than any before, until one night Dr. Carter received a call from a free clinic across town, where Marcus lay unconscious after protecting a stranger during a robbery, stabbed and bleeding. And as Dr. Carter operated on the boy who had given his daughter hope, the irony crushed him and Marcus survived. But when he woke, he told Dr. Carter he was leaving the city, that the attention was dangerous, that he never wanted to be the reason someone believed in miracles more than themselves. And Emily wheeled into the room and said quietly, "You already changed my life," and asked him to stay just one more time, not to fix her, but to remind her how to listen to her own body. And Marcus agreed, and something different happened then. Not a sudden cure, but a breakthrough built on months of trust. Emily stood, shaking, supported by parallel bars and belief, and when she took one step, the room erupted, but Marcus looked away, because to him the miracle was not walking, it was choice. And the final twist came years later when Emily, now a medical student, presented a new rehabilitation model to a national conference, one that integrated patient-led sensory awareness with traditional therapy, crediting not a technique but a teacher named Marcus, who by then ran a nonprofit teaching trauma-informed body awareness to at-risk youth. And Dr. Carter, watching from the audience, understood at last that science without humanity is incomplete, and the story you just heard isn't about a surgeon's daughter walking or a homeless boy with a gift. It's about who we choose to listen to, who we choose to value. And if that moved you even a little, if you believe stories like this matter in a world that too often looks away, subscribe now, because the next story might change how you see everything too. If you've ever believed miracles only belong in operating rooms and textbooks, hit subscribe right now and stay with this story, because what you're about to hear will challenge everything you think you know about medicine, fate, and who the real healers are in this world. And it begins on a freezing Chicago morning when the most respected surgeon in the state stood powerless beside his own daughter's wheelchair. A man who had repaired shattered spines, removed tumors the size of fists, and taught rooms full of doctors how to give people their lives back, yet could not make his own child take a single step. And her name was Emily Carter, 17 years old, born with a rare congenital spinal condition that doctors called incurable in careful voices and footnotes, a condition that left her legs alive but silent, nerves like cut wires that never carried the message to move. And from the moment she was old enough to understand, Emily learned that her life would be measured in ramps, elevators, and well-meaning pity, while her father, Dr. Jonathan Carter, measured his life in surgical hours and sleepless nights, chasing a cure that did not exist, traveling to conferences, funding studies, pushing experimental treatments to their ethical limits. All while Emily learned to smile politely at hope and then quietly let it go, because disappointment hurt worse than paralysis. And on that same morning, 3 blocks from the hospital that bore her father's name on an entire wing, a black homeless boy named Marcus sat on a steam grate with a torn hoodie and a cardboard sign that read nothing at all, because he had learned that words scared people more than silence. And Marcus was 16. Though hunger and cold made him look older, raised in foster homes that taught him how to pack his life into a trash bag, taught by streets that pain was a language everyone understood, and what no one knew, not the cops who chased him away from storefronts, not the commuters who avoided his eyes, was that Marcus had an unusual gift for listening, not just to people but to bodies, because years earlier, when he was 10, his mother had died slowly from a neurological disease, and he had sat beside her bed night after night, learning the rhythms of breath, the way muscles responded to touch, how sometimes a hand placed in the right spot could ease pain when pills failed, and the doctors called it coincidence and placebo, but Marcus called it paying attention, and on that freezing morning fate bent itself in a quiet way when Emily's wheelchair hit a patch of ice outside a cafe and tipped, sending her to the ground as her father fumbled in panic, shouting for help. His hands suddenly clumsy, his confidence gone, and people gathered but no one moved. No one knew what to do with a fallen girl who could not get up, until Marcus stepped forward, ignored at first because he was just another homeless kid, until Emily looked up and met his eyes and saw no pity there, only focus, and he said gently, "Don't move, I got you," and Dr. Carter snapped at him to back away, his voice sharp with fear and authority, but Marcus didn't argue. He simply knelt and placed his hands near Emily's legs without touching, asking her where she felt pressure, where she felt warmth, and Emily, startled by being asked instead of told, answered, and something in her voice made her father pause, and Marcus asked if he could try something, just to help her sit back up, and Dr. Carter laughed, bitterly, the sound of a man breaking, but Emily said, "Dad, let him try." Because for the first time in years someone wasn't talking over her condition, they were talking to her, and Marcus guided her breathing, counted softly, pressed along specific points with careful pressure. Not magic, just attention, and Emily felt something she had never felt before. Not movement, but awareness. A hum like electricity waking up, and she gasped, and Dr. Carter froze as Emily said, "I can feel that." And the crowd leaned in and Marcus whispered, "Tell your legs what you want, they still belong to you." Words no doctor had ever said, and in that moment nothing miraculous happened. Emily did not stand, but something shifted, something undeniable, and later that day, in a hospital room filled with machines, Emily repeated the sensations, and tests showed increased neural response. Tiny, statistically insignificant, the kind doctors dismiss, except Dr. Carter could not, because he had seen it with his own eyes, and he tracked Marcus down that night under an overpass, offering money, food, shelter, desperate to understand what he had done, and Marcus shrugged and said he just